Good morning. Actually, I think that we have an hour. It's okay, an hour. I'll give you time to discuss the issue with me. It means that, first of all, everyone can disturb me in between my speaking. It is not really disturbing me, it is helping me. I like to be disturbed. This is my main approach to life. And after, you are much more than invited to ask questions, because it is the only way to create understanding. Information today coming to be almost everything with big data, machine learning. For me, it is bullshit. It is good in collecting basic data, but understanding is something much deeper than just collecting information. This is one of the main mistakes of rationality in Western culture, to be too much dependent upon informational collection. If I'm coming to tell you 2 + 2 is 4, if you are already informed about that, nothing was really added to you. But regarding human being phenomena, understanding is far away from the information. You can have all the information and yet not to begin to understand. And I'm trying to speak about something that really lead to an insight of understanding. I could lead a seminar of a year about this issue. To do that in 30 minutes is really not easy enterprise, but I'm trusting you because you are still young. It is better to speak about that with children than with professors, because their mind is too stuck with their obsession to what is called obligations of rationality. And in order to begin, as I was always informed by my teachers, if someone working to write a PhD dissertation and cannot explain to a child in 5 minutes what really he is doing, it means either he is not beginning to understand what really he is doing, or he took a subject that really has no interest. So the main question is simple. And if you're not understanding the question, it is a riddle in a way. We can just remain with the questions. Sometimes questions are better than answers. The question is, why again and again European leaders, American presidents and leaders coming with a nice promise that they are coming to solve the Israeli-Palestinian problem, coming to bring peace to the region. As they are saying, we will make 2 states living side by side together in an everlasting peace. In a way, they are saying that there is just one problem to solve, to take out the obstacle. If we will just remove it, then the way is open to that dream that people will live together. Why again and again it is not working? What's wrong with the dream of all American presidents, including President Trump, that I think he made a very important transition in the approach, but yet he's speaking about a deal. What's the main difference between making a deal in real estate business and making a deal in trying to solve a national and religious conflict? This is the main question. Is it quite clear? And I'll try to explain that. And it is not only a problem regarding the American leaders coming to solve problems here. It is a problem with Israeli leaders as well. The main difference between Ben-Gurion and Menachem Begin And the main difference between the approach of the first leaders came from the socialistic trend, like Ben Gurion and Levi Eshkol. On the other side, those who came from a bourgeois trend, like Menachem Begin. When Menachem Begin went to the peace agreement with Egypt, he wanted to get a final contract to make it just eternal. He wanted to get a paper. And it is very interesting to understand that in the Labour Party, the leaders, like Yigal Allon, even Shimon Peres, didn't support this approach. They wanted to get something just for today, not solving everything, not promising everything. It means that we have a very, very great difference between final solution and interim. Tomorrow a new day. What making people to think that something could come to an end? It is not just a question of faith. It begins with different approaches to understand the cosmos. And I'm trying to explain you that the Russians, including their leader Putin, they are looked Europeans, but they are thinking in Asiatic mode of thinking. Ben Gurion was Russian and thinking in Asiatic mode of thinking. Menachem Begin and others, this is European or Western. It is coming from the Greek tradition with Plato and Aristoteles. And this is, I'll call that Asiatic. Chinese thinking like that. Islamic people thinking like that. It means every day a new day. If I have a contract, okay, that's nice. Tomorrow a new day. The contract could be just a paper. And I'll tell you why. It begins with a main understanding about the role of God in creation of the world and the cosmos in both points of view, each one taking it differently. When a Jew praying in the morning, most of Jewish people not realizing that they are saying something that it is against their basic paradigm because they are Westerns, absolutely. The Jews saying something like that. Thanks God that brought the sun this morning again, that recreated the universe. Every day the world is recreated from the beginning. In the Western approach, coming from the Greek tradition, and was really the basic, with bringing the basic premises for the revolution in science, what was called scientific revolution with Galileo and Cartesian. And this is the basic premise for science. Why, when I'm taking an airplane, I'm believing that it will take off, and I'm really expecting, with rational expectations, that it will land safely. Because my basic premises are taking for granted that the natural laws of yesterday, according to them, engineers planned the airplane, will work today in the same way. This is absolutely an obvious premise that not standing logical criticism. We are taking that obviously. And why it is important, I'm not coming to speak philosophical issues, I'm trying to bring that to concrete reality. And in order to explain that, I'll just try to explain two worldviews. Everyone speaking today regarding national security about the word stability. Two approaches for that. The Western approach, taking stability as the basic situation. We are coming out from stability, and if something was going out from control, what we have to do to bring back stability. The other way to look upon stability, it is equilibrium. What it means, like the sea, it looks now stable. Tomorrow a new day. The stability that was achieved now, it is not because the order of nature came to a moment of absolute stability. It is just happened today, tomorrow a new day. And it happened because of coexistence of a lot of powers creating a kind of interim equilibrium. You understanding me? This is the main key to understand the two paradigms regarding conflicts. The Western approach to stability, taking the cosmos like a train system. If the train fell down from the track, it is an accident. We have to fix the track, to bring back the engine and the all cabins to the track, and order coming back with stability and with routine. Management, by that paradigm, is about building a system that coming to work with an inner system of fixed laws. Therefore, the best manager is one that succeeding to create stability and everything going by routine. The other approach, saying that's good with trains. Of course, I don't want to take a train that not based upon basic engineering principles of planning, but life is not management of trains. Even daily life of couples is not a train. Every day a new day. It means that management is about the change. Everything, something is changing, and I must be aware about the change and be aware about the new emerging phenomena. Here there is no acceptance of emerging phenomena. You understand me? The very idea of emerging phenomena taking in recognition the idea that something could happen without any possibility to predict it before, because it just emerged. To be very, very concrete, I'll come to something everyone knows from his own life. In a Catholic Christian wedding, there are promises, promising love until death. In Jewish wedding, no promises. What they are doing in Jewish ceremony, in the middle of the ceremony, they are reading a contract saying that if we are divorced, that and that is a contract about what the woman going to get. What it means, in the very happy moment, we are saying, tomorrow, a new day. Nobody could predict what will come out tomorrow. Everything that looked very stable and nice now, tomorrow, if it will not recreated with new functions, with new rationale, with a new motivation, it will just vanish. Absolutely two approaches. And why it is so important about understanding reality in the Middle East. When Western paradigm coming to explain, to understand the situation in the Middle East, they are coming with the idea that, like an accident, when we are making a reverse engineering by analyzing an accident, of course, I'm respecting engineering. About airplanes and machines, it is absolutely true to approach life like that. By reverse engineering, we are trying to make an effort to find the cause for the accident. And if it was solved, we are safe. So they are coming with the idea that we will just find several obstacles, remove them, and then everyone live in good tranquility, two states side by side together in an everlasting peace. Everlasting is the very word, everlasting. I'm asking what could be everlasting in life? Nothing. Ask Apple, for example, about that. When they succeeded to create that, there is an immediate competition with someone else competing with them. You cannot say just, I did it and now I'm stable. Tomorrow a new day. Why, if it is so clear in domains of economical competition, it is not so clear about a relationship between states? A new day, a new competition, a new conflict, a new challenges, etc. As Kissinger was saying, by taking a Chinese idiom, he said, the problem you are solving today, giving in your hand the ticket for the new problem of tomorrow. And sometimes the problem of today is better than the new problems that you created in your own solution. This is absolutely two approaches. And what really is the impact of that? People are coming to negotiation with vision and dreams. And they are coming here, and everyone's saying, okay, this is your vision, you can get that. Be pragmatic. As Trump trying to tell the Arabs, we will bring you economical support, and you will get new prosperity conditions, and this will bring you to put aside your dreams, your vision. There is an inner premise here, a very Western premise, saying that at the end, everyone wants the same. It is a very enlightened premise. As I was just told by American general, first-star general in the Pentagon that was responsible to the desk of the Mediterranean. I came to the Pentagon with cadets of National Defense College. I commanded the National Defense College that time. And he said the following: at the end, everyone wants the same. That children will go in security to school. Restaurants are open to midnight. And if we are creating this atmosphere and these conditions, everyone will live in global stability. I told him, listen, not only you are far away from understanding bin Laden, you are far away from beginning to understand me. Because if that's what I have in my life, this is my dream, why not to try to find that in New Jersey, in Brooklyn, in Los Angeles, without the obligation to struggle every day here for doing that in Israel? It means that there must be someone that's thinking differently about what's really important in his life. What Abu Mazen telling to Trump, and I'm supporting Abu Mazen by saying that, because I'm thinking the same. We will not let you to transform the Palestinian problem from an essential problem to an economical and humanitarian problem. It is not that. It is not that they are not well fitted. We are bringing them conditions so to be well fitted, and then everything is solved. What it means The enlightened idea is thinking like that. That if we are bringing in, we will call that A and this B, no one coming to negotiate about dreams. It is not on the table in negotiation. When we coming to bring him to accept this, and he is living in stability here, in a new prosperity, he will forget about that, or it will be just a nice dream, not entered to practical decision making. Because we succeeded like that, like a train, to remove the train from one track to another track. And if it was already removed, it cannot jump to another track. The main idea of the Islamic people, the main idea of pragmatism, not only with Islam, but also with Ben Gurion, is different. When Ben Gurion in 1937 accepted the division of this land to get a small part of this land to build a state, he was pragmatic. He accepted to get B. But he emphasized that it is just stage one. We are coming to take what we can get now with expectation to wait to new conditions, new opportunity. When new opportunity will come, we will try to come to this. When I explained that to a man that was generally responsible to the intelligence branch in IDF, Uri Sagi, that dramatically was a believer in peace treatment with Syria, he told me, you are thinking in the deterministic manner. You are thinking that anyhow, if they'll come to here, they will not forget that, and deterministically they will try to go ahead to come to that. I told him, maybe you are thinking deterministically by taking the premise that if they'll come that deterministically because they are enlightened, they will prefer good life and give away the obligation to go ahead with the struggle. And here, entering the motivation of faith. Because faith in Islam and faith in Christianity are not really exactly the same. Faith in Islam from the beginning coming together, combined with political considerations, with pragmatic considerations. They are not divided. It means the politician coming to his work inspired by faith obligations, and faith obligations are coming to political arena in order to learn what could be achieved today according to the pragmatical circumstances. They are not divided. They are all every day just examined in a new manner what could be achieved today. It means that if the idea of pragmatism coming to be, it means it is final, it is an end, and the dream remain just an ethos, something not really influencing practical reasoning. In regarding faith, it means faith is eternal, is forever. What I'm doing when I'm pragmatic, it is just to make a bypass of an obstacle because I'm pragmatic. But it is not that I'm bringing aside and not taking seriously my obligation to the eternal vision. A concrete example, President Rouhani, the leader of Iran, in the year 2014, he had a lot of troubles with the sanctions, with other difficulties. Before Ramadan, he spoke with the religious leaders, explained them why he's going to sign the agreement with Obama. He explained them why he's going to cooperate with American troops in fighting against ISIS, like the campaign in Mosul. They already had to get an explanation. How come that the huge devil, the American devil, now is a partner for cooperation? And he told them the following: there are moments in life of the believer that flexibility is higher than jihad. According to Western analysis, it means at the difficult moment, he got free from his obligation to jihad and became a pragmatic leader, taking seriously the pragmatic considerations. In my point of view, exactly the opposite. At the moment of difficulties, he just colored the reality and the necessity for flexibility with the color of jihad. The jihad is a flexible idea. It is not something that bringing them to a suicide practical reasoning. Not at all. They are very careful about circumstances. What it means, again, to make it clear with a clear metaphor: if I'm driving ambulance, I'm allowed to drive fast, to not really obey all the rules of traffic, because I have an occasion of emergency. But I'm not allowed just to crash my car to make an accident. It means who is absolutely obligated to pragmatical reasoning by driving? This one that gets the license to deviate from the rules. It means that at the moment of emergency, even though you are allowed not to obey the rules as they are, you are not allowed to close your eyes and to be blind to the circumstances. This is the main idea of Islamic faith. And it is the key to understand Khomeini, it is the key to understand Hamas, and it is not at all strange to find that they have been inspired by Ben Gurion. Hassan el-Banna, the Islamic leader that known to be the founder of Islamic Brothers, he said publicly that he was inspired by Ben Gurion. The same about Khomeini. In what? And by that I'll just end my briefing. Ben Gurion was a great inspiration for them, and it is explaining that when we are calling them fundamentalistic, we are making just a wrong point of view, just preventing us from understanding them. Ben Gurion was a great example of someone living in a modern era, managing his business with modern attitude, and yet inspired in his own practical reasoning by the vision of the past. To bring back the past, as the Zionistic did here, was going to the future, not to the past. The same about them. Khomeini was not going to the past, he was going to the future. And he wanted to be modern, but in his own way, as a faithful religion leader. The same about the Hamas. It means that, to say that very shortly, the main mistake is to engagement with the Israelis. He did the opposite. He told them, I'm aware about inferiority that couldn't be really solved in that year. Therefore, I'm taking our inferiority in planning. Therefore, we are not going to take all Sinai. What we are going to do is just to take 5 kilometers eastern to the Suez Canal. What it means to the Air Force commander. I'm not asking you to be in the same standard of the Israelis. We will create a great air defense system here, and this will create protection to our troops on the ground with excellent Russian air defense system. What they are doing, they are taking Israeli advantages regarding this front. It is a logic not of positive superiority, but negative, to take the Israeli superiority, to prevent it. Anti-access, what is called. The same about the armor. He equipped his troops with a lot of anti-tank missiles, and when the Israelis' armor coming to attack them, they will prevent the Israeli superiority in maneuvering. Again, it was negative to take advantages from the other. And by that, he waited to what I called emerging phenomena. Something will emerge by that. What really will emerge, he cannot put it in a plan. It is not a kind of industrial plan. It will happen, and we will see. The Israelis couldn't understand that this is his logic, because they thought that if he is rational and he is aware about his inferiority, and there is no chance to enter to the deep distance of the desert, because he will fail to give support, Air Force support in this depth, then he will fail. Therefore, if he is rational, he will not open a war. But he came with alternative rationality. Why it is important to young officers? Because it is interesting to know that after the war, a lot of help was given by the Americans. Immediately, the air train supplying new weapons, new tanks, new airplanes, ammunition. And Kissinger told the lady that was Prime Minister, Golda Meir, he told her like that: you suffered in that campaign less than 3,000 soldiers. It is nothing in comparing it to what was the losses in Second World War. Just in Omar Beach, 75 years ago, in one day the Americans lost 4,000 soldiers. So what it is, 3,000 soldiers, even less. And if you are in shock from that, maybe you are not really deserve to keep sovereignty. Because the engagement in the Sinai front, including the Golan front, together have been more intensive than the main battlefields in Second World War. Just take in consideration the fact that in Kursk campaign, the last counter-offensive of the Germans against the Russians, they lost wounded and killed soldiers, 500,000 soldiers in a week. So who can compare 3,000 soldiers? And I'll tell you what was the Israeli shock. The main shock was that the lieutenants and captains in the first 2 or 3 days realized that they are the first to understand that they are facing a new challenge, a new method of warfare, and they realize that those who are obeying the orders are just sent to be killed. They realize that the whole logic of the commanders, not really getting the understanding of the change. Who was the first to understand the change? Those who are in the friction, the young soldiers. To give you a feeling of the atmosphere, after 3 days of fighting, there was an Israeli pilot in Israeli Air Force that participated as an American Phantom pilot in Vietnam. Then he came to Israel, and he was an Israeli Air Force pilot. His friends coming at morning told him, "Wake up, we are going to attack the headquarters of the general staff." And he asked where. They told him in Damascus. He said, "Oh, I just wanted that we will be sent to attack the general staff headquarters in Tel Aviv." Why? Because the orders sent them to just find irrelevancy. The feeling that you are getting irrelevant orders are really a source of disaster, a source of crisis. I was a young soldier at that time in Sinai, and the mistrust of the higher echelon command really led to a crisis. As a division commander, for example, as a brigade commander, I told them, "You will be the first to understand that something else is going on, and I'll be dependent upon your realization, and you must teach me what's going on." It means that there will be a moment in which, with all your wisdom, you can lead to open the blind eyes of your generals. Okay? If you are going to see the excellent movie Saving Private Ryan, it is bringing the same message. Captain Miller is the hero of this movie. He is saving the situation along all the way. In landing at the wrong beach, it was a mistake of the general. And he saved the situation by his initiative brevity. And the same in the bridge that the paratroopers took, and he immediately understood that what the generals must do if there is a bridge open to exploitation of success, just to bring the divisions to make the opportunity to be fulfilled. And nothing happened. So he saved the situation, and he was just a reservist, a teacher, not a professional soldier. But what he had in mind, the capability to learn in himself the situation. It means that if you are taking the basic awareness that everything changing, and you will be the first to know that something else going on, and you will be able to conceptualize that, this is your role. Nothing more, I think.
Any other questions? Gershon, can you tell them from your own experience, when did you have an incident, as you explained, through your own service?
I have a lot, but I'll give you one small anecdote that I used that anecdote in a panel with European Union experts. It was in Herzliya conference, and the subject of this panel was how the European Union intervention in the Middle East could be more effective. And I tried to explain them that as long as they will come stuck with the idea that we must separate between religious considerations and pragmatical considerations, to distinguish between religious leaders and other leaders, and to put the paradigm that the religious leader must stay in the church or mosque and not to use them in the field. They will not really succeed to understand the situation. And I'll give you an example. There was a day, you have been in the Golan Heights. You remember it. There is Hermon Mountain. I'm living there, really just from my window, I can see the Hermon Mountain. This is Hermon Mountain. This is the border, and this is the village Majd al-Shams. Have you been there? The Syrians, just in what was called Nakba Day, promoted Palestinian refugees to penetrate from the fence to the village. This is a village of 10,000 people, even more. And 400 refugees succeeded to penetrate to the village and found shelters in the village. The soldiers didn't really shoot them because it could happen to be a massacre. They crossed the borders and jumped to the village. Now we have to do something with it. I was co-commander in this area. The northern commander was Gadi Eisenkot, became later chief of staff. And the problem is for police to enter to every house, to check whether there is a refugee there, and to throw him back to the Syrian border. It is an act that couldn't be just soft. It includes violence. How to do that without bringing all the village to struggle. And we don't want a friction like that. 2 battalions of police have been prepared here to enter, and other troops. And the sheikh of the village, I'm a friend of him, told me, and he told the others later, I'm the religious leader. Use me. If I'm giving my words to all the people in the village that trusting me, and I'm leading them to send each one by his own hands, the refugee back to Syria. And I have one condition. You will not enter with troops to the village. This was an agreement, and all of them went back just due to his assistant by giving his word to his people. What he was at that moment, a religious leader or a politician leader? Both. This is the Middle East. And if we are keeping the distinction, we are not really understanding the roots of convincing the people. Okay? You have a question?
Yeah, I've got a question for you about faith and about command and about contradictions that I think everyone would be interested in. The disengagement from the Gaza Strip in 2005, is it correct you oversaw that disengagement? You were the commander of the disengagement? There are people who've said to me that you were selected for that in part because of your religious faith and your religious understanding. So what I want to ask you is, one, how did you reconcile the disengagement, given that I understand you're opposed to that idea? And 2, do you think that the concession of land in the pursuit of peace is sensible in the future for the Israel-Palestinian conflict?
Well, each word is another lecture, okay? To make it short, first of all, that's true that I commanded the disengagement from Gaza. It is not true that I was really selected because I'm religious. It was just arbitrarily happened because I was that time 36th Division, and they need a division headquarter to lead that operation. What happens there is a movie. There was a movie about that made by Channel 4, the British Channel 4 that accompanied me, really giving an access to what really happened. You can find that. But I really was aware about the way I'm going to solve it. For a lot of people in Israel, because they really tried, those from the left side, even Sharon, wanted to make this engagement with the settlers like Gettysburg, what was Gettysburg in the Civil War film. It means that in the same way that after Gettysburg, the war was not ended, but already it was quite clear that it is going to end in the victory of the North. They wanted to bring that to an escalation, to isolate the settlers there, to bring them to behave in a way that they will lose legitimacy in the Israeli society, in a way that was written in Haaretz newspaper by a lot of left-wing leaders, that the Zionistic river will come to an obstacle and then will make a turn, not anymore the understanding of Zionism going together with settlements. What I tried to do is different. I tried to prevent it from being a Gettysburg. I convinced the leaders of the settlements, of the settlers, that they are not going to the fatal end by struggling, because they have another struggle after in Judea and Samaria. So they must create a struggle that will mark that Jews are not leaving their home without a struggle, but the Zionistic river that will face the obstacle will bypass and go ahead. And it was really exemplified in my operational manner. And this is the explanation why a campaign that was planned for 1 month was ended less than 10 days. But here, coming to understand what happened from the adversary point of view, they didn't look upon what happened by interpreting that as a goodwill of the Israelis giving them land in order to build their own prosperity land. They just interpreted that as a weakness of the Israelis, that we are weak, we are withdrawing, we are escaping from engaging with them. So what they wanted? To go more to another step. Instead of taking them from one track of struggle to a track of cooperation in coexistence in life, they preferred the ongoing with equipped and fire rockets struggle. Therefore, I think that to make another withdrawal is a huge mistake, and I'm thanking God that we have this laboratory in order to explain to everybody, not only in Israel, what is a potential risk if we will withdraw from Judea and Samaria. And more about how they are thinking. A man like Yihya Sanwar, I'm really respecting him, with faith. How he's making practical reasoning by taking faith in his own decision making. He launched last engagement 700 rockets. It could lead to a war. He doesn't want a war. How we can explain his behavior if he's rational? He's really aware about the risk of war, about the destruction of war, about the fact that IDF could absolutely destroy him himself and all his troops, and yet doing everything that could just glide to war. By that, he's taking God as part of decision making. He's launching 700 rockets and saying, God, I'm just fulfilling my obligation. Now it is in your own hands. The outcome and the result are arbitrary. If people are killed or not, it is not anymore in his hands. The rockets have been launched. If they will just fell in a kindergarten, killed dozens of children, Israel will be obliged to open a war because of public opinion. If all children and all families will be well protected in good shelves, in good shelter, and Israel will get the conditions to contain the outcome and not just coming to a war, this is by God. And what happened really giving the Palestinians that he leading them the example that God is with him. Because what really happened is not by his own hand. He launched the rockets and the outcome was managed by God to make it possible that he is going on with the struggle, and yet the undesired outcome that it will glide to war also didn't happen. And we must understand that this is a key to explain the rationality. That, again, we will not end it like that.
I have another question if no one else does. Does anyone else have a question? I want to ask you two things very quickly. And then one, does the senior level of the Israel Defense Forces understand the role of religion in this conflict, in your opinion?
No.
You're the only one, or are there...
No. In the campaign in 2014, for example, I'm giving you a concrete example, there was a paper written by brigade commander of Islamic Jihad in the northern side of Gaza Strip. And it was by intelligence effort came to our hands. And he analyzed the situation with a lot of words and allusions to Quran, to other sources of inspiration. And the captains in the intelligence research division understood from that paper that the campaign not going to end in a week. Chief of Staff was sure that the campaign is going to end in a week. This person analyzed why it is going longer and longer than the Israeli expecting. It was a great analysis. And the head of this division said, it is not interesting, it is a religious paper. So they gave it to me. I spoke with the deputy division commander of the research division. He's religious with kippah. His parents lived in Gush Katif in Gaza Strip, and I took them out from the house. And he said, of course, it is just full with Quran citations. It is not at all a strategic analysis. I told him, you have a kippah on your head. You are praying every morning, but you are not beginning to understand faith. Because you are leaving God in your synagogue when you are coming to your work. They are taking God to the desk of their work. Just one example, what was written there. You know that Islamic speaking about what is maktub. Maktub, it means that the outcome was already by deterministic decision made already by God. If someone finds death in an accident, what in Arabic said, Walla maktub. It means it was already sentenced by God. What this guy tried to explain is that this event stayed open. How it was understood in the Israeli analysis, Marka Maftucha, it means open campaign. They understood without constraints, without limitations in time, but they didn't understood it with the religious impact. It means this event was not decided by God yet. It let it open to our istishhad, it means sacrifice. The gates of sky are open. If we will enter and do our obligation to sacrifice ourselves, it will really bring God's help and God's salvation. It depends upon us. For me, it is absolutely operational in its all content, because by that I can understand how they are in one side saying they don't want that war, on the other side they are saying if it was opened by God and now it is our duty to recruit God to be with us in order to exploit this opportunity, it means something. And when nobody paid attention to that, I went to the defense minister, Boogie, and told him, look, you have this paper and you are blind. You don't want to really take it seriously. And at the end, I made the research after the campaign. I asked Aviv Kochavi, today he's the chief of staff. He was head of intelligence. And he told me, in absolute honesty, I must admit, he's saying, I knew all the places in which the rockets are located, but I didn't have any access to the rationality. What really they have in their mind. I told him I don't want to just destroy your career. You are saying something dramatic. Do you really want me to write that in my research? He said yes. After he realized that it is not good for him, it can really disturb him. But this is really the great example of how the approach of collecting data that are very important to bring ammunition to target, is nothing by trying to understand the raison d'etre of all these phenomena. So really we have difficulties with it.
My last question.
Oh.
Isaiah's got a question, and then I'll go.
Isaiah Sampson from United States Air Force Academy. Sir, my question is pertaining, if I'm understanding correctly, basically we're working, there's a certain culture that's working in their paradigm and not really embracing the other paradigm. But you mentioned something earlier that I thought was interesting. You said if there's more than one rationality, then that makes rationality kind of fall apart in a sense.
Yes.
Because there's only supposed to be one. But I guess working with religion, so if you're making a rational argument with someone, you can use the basis of finding one rationality to kind of find a solution. But I guess with religion, because their God, the way they view God is different, even if you understand that, how do you, I don't know if I'm clear right now, but how do you find...
You're clear.
Okay, yeah. Because there can be one rationality, but there's two gods.
Wow.
So how do you find...
No, I'll tell you. I'm not claiming that I have a real key for interpretation. What I'm claiming is that we are facing a complex phenomena. Complexity is, by just saying that there is complexity, is to say that we are facing a situation in which not everything could be well analyzed. The main difference between people that are believing in absolute rationality, that they are absolutely modern, believing that if I'm finding myself facing a complex situation, It is not that there is not a way to analyze it. It is that I'm not clever enough. I am not educated enough. Didn't make the enough effort to do it. But there must be someone clever enough or huge system of computers that are planned in a right manner, and that could be solved. It means that the difference between complexity and something that is simple is just that I yet didn't find a way to make the complex simple. My attitude is that basically there are phenomena that, to begin with, they are complex. Education, for example, it is a complex phenomenon. I can take two cadets, two students, two sons of mine, send them to the same school, to the same systems. The outcome is uncontrolled and will not come the same. This is absolutely a good example, everyone knows, of complexity. In industrial line, I cannot accept complexity. I cannot say as a manager of industrial line, look, you wanted from me to produce a private car. I'm apologizing. It happened by emerging phenomena to be a truck. Couldn't happen. But with education, it could happen. Okay? Yeah.
All right. Cadet Drake from the United States Military Academy. I'm just wondering, how did you come to this conclusion, or what in your life allowed you, or enabled you rather, to consider different perspectives that most military people wouldn't? Because in my military, I feel like a lot of officers and a lot of leaders are very much by the books, like there's one right answer.
I'll tell you, I really don't know. I have a clever brothers, and I'm asking how they succeeding, each one in his own profession, to do something like that, and how our parents succeeded to bring that to happen. I really don't know. Maybe it's a gift by God. I cannot promise that my children will get my approach. Maybe it is by accident.
I'm sorry, I do want to ask one question, but I want a really short answer because I've never had the chance to ask you this, and I think it's...
And now you want.
Yes, I'm sorry. So General John Allen, you worked with General John Allen?
No.
I
I criticized him, I wrote about him.
Thank you. So I want to know about this because for those in the room, these are people who are bound for something of a career in the military. And General John Allen, for those of you who are unaware, was the individual assigned to bringing about the defense aspect of the peace negotiations between the Obama administration, Israel, and the Palestinian Authority. And Moshe Ya'alon, who they heard from the Knesset, Bogi, was very critical of General John Allen's plan, and I know that you were critical of him. Now, without speaking to the man, but rather to the issue, can you please say, fundamentally, what did General John Allen understand about Israel? No. Okay.
No,
And what did he not understand?
no, I'll tell you.
And if you can do it briefly.
No, of course, briefly.
Thank you.
What was the main mission of John Allen is to bring Netanyahu to a junction like that. Either to accept peace or to be a fundamental fanatic against peace. How they tried to brought him to this corner. Netanyahu said, of course, I'm supporting peace, but I cannot just open the future of Israel to a potential threat to be unsecured. John Allen program was expected to bring the whole support for Israeli security anxieties in a way that's saying, listen, you are standing here, Netanyahu. You cannot anymore just tell a story that if we will accepting two-state solution, you are open Israel to potential threat, because we are delivering Israel with the whole whole answers for the whole anxieties. First of all, of course, he's just ignoring, including Thomas Friedman, that worked not directly with him, but supporting him, ignoring the fact that the whole story of Israel is not about security. Security is byproduct. If I'm telling you that the whole effort was just in order to bring security to Jews that suffered in Auschwitz, you just visited Auschwitz, why not to bring them to Germany? Who burned and killed the Jews? The Germans. They are accepting to get now 6 million Jews. They will be absolutely profitable from that. They want them. So why to do that here? Just for security? We are here not because of security. Security is not the story. We are here because of the prophecy of prophets, because of other ambitions and motivation. And if Tel Aviv is not the gate to Jerusalem, it is just a corner of the networking system of Manhattan, a Brooklyn in the Mediterranean. The function of Tel Aviv is to be a gate to Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is not just West Jerusalem. This is a story. It means that if you wanted to bring Netanyahu to this junction of decision making, it is, yes, I want peace, but remember, I cannot accept what you are offering me in what could happen to be a huge Jewish ghetto in Tel Aviv. Ghetto not only regarding security considerations, regarding the whole function of what we are doing here, the whole raison d'etre. The other aspect that I'm criticizing him by ignoring the new changes of 21st century, changes in warfare. It means that what he wanted to do, if this is the Jordan River, and this is Jerusalem, and the Israelis demanding to get isolation territory in Jordan River and the Jordan Valley, that ISIS or Iranian troops or who doesn't matter what will not supply ammunition and instruction to Palestinians in Judea and Samaria, what he said, it will be taken in the Americans' hand with 300 troops of Americans. We will inspect that this zone will be demilitarized. And what is the main mistake? You can use radars, all means for inspection, sensors. It is good for the 20th century threat. To detect an armored division is much easier than to detect a grade rocket hidden in a potato truck crossing the Jordan River. It means that the very idea that the Palestinian state will be kept demilitarized is impossible. Okay? And we will not end again.